Well, we are talking about the 4 numbers that every pastor needs to know about financial health.
All right. So what are we talking about when we say church financial health?
When it comes to the financial health of the church, we want to hone in on what are the 4 numbers. And this is actually, it's not independent of your overall health of the church. They're related.
Okay.
They feed into a healthy church overall. If you're a leader in the church, if you're a pastor in the church, you need to know these 4 numbers. These are the high level, most important numbers to understand as a church. It's not everything about your financial health, but if there's an issue with your financial health, you're going to see it in these numbers. There's 4 words that you need to remember to make it easy. It's get, keep, have, and gave. Try to say that 5 times fast. Let me just kind of explain each of those. Get, how much money did you get? What was your income for the month? How much did you keep? Let's say your income was $100,000 and you spent 90, then you would say we kept $10,000, right? How much do you have? This is how much money does the church have in savings, basically cash on hand. If you got in 100 and you had $90,000 of expenses, you kept 10,000. And if that's all the money you ever had, you would have $10,000. But
Okay.
over time, you're going to see months where you keep $10,000, $20,000, some months where you lose, you spent more. And so you maybe gave up $10,000. You're also tracking what you have. And then the 4th number is how many people gave to support your church. This is all from an operational perspective. So this is one of the questions we get. Do I track everything through this? If you have special giving, you probably wouldn't include that, but you want this to be apples to apples. I do say for churches that are doing maybe a building project and they're raising money for that and then spending money, you could do this twice, once operationally and once specifically for the building. You're looking at the exact same metrics, but in context of spending and giving towards the building. Some churches have other areas, maybe it is missions, where you're asking for people to give to kind of a sub department within the church, and you kind of have a sub budget for that. It can happen with other ministries. Sometimes we see it with a worship ministry where they're raising money for it. They're spending money maybe on recordings and sending musicians around, that kind of stuff. That's like a sub way to track it. Subway, not subway, like the train.
Actual train. You use a train to track it.
Yeah. We're not bringing that into this, but it's a subcategory way to do that.
So why does each of these numbers matter?
You want to know what your giving is on a monthly basis. And you don't want to just know what the number is for this month. You want to be able to see it in context. So what was it for this month? How does it compare to your target budgeted number? And what's the trend? Because all of these numbers are going to go up and down over time. We like to look back 13 months. So you can see February of 2025. Let's look at February of 2024. What happened? What was the difference in those? And what's happened in between there? Is it kind of overall trending up, overall going down, that kind of things? That would be for all of these numbers. What's happening, seeing that bigger context. But giving is important because that's how you support the ministry at the church. And there's reasons why that might be decreased, right? You might send out a church plant and you might send out a significant number of people from your church and you're going to see a drop in giving. It's not always bad when it drops, but you want to understand what is happening and what are the reasons. If
That's good to know.
Down, and I'm not aware of that, then maybe my budget that I built is not going to balance at the end of the year. I'm going to spend too much, right? So giving is really important to track for that. Keep is kind of this helps you understand, am I spending more than I'm taking in on a monthly basis? And again, any given month that might not be true, but you want to see that trend over time and make sure that you're not overspending, right?
Each month probably looks a little bit different, like with Easter or with Christmas versus those normal times of the year where you don't have the events going on.
Exactly. Both in spending and giving, there's those impacts throughout the year. These first 3 kind of trickle, like your income, it trickles down to then how much of that did you actually keep? And that trickles down to how much do you have? This is basically cash on hand. And there's some rule of thumb numbers here, but one of them is 3 to 6 months of operational spending in cash on hand.
Good to know.
If you don't have any money in the savings account and you overspend, well, you've got a problem. You're going to bounce your payments, right? So you want to have a healthy number in there where you know that if giving goes up and down, we don't have to worry about it. We're not making decisions week to week. We're able to make decisions longer term. And also, if something significant happens, like another COVID event, you have ability to make decisions and make changes before they're going to impact the church and impact your decisions. Banks might require a certain amount with that too. So that's reasons why. Also, There are just unbudgeted things that like opportunities that come up that God puts in front of you. And you might say, this is a great opportunity. We want to fund this. Having some extra money for that is another reason why you would do that. The last number gave, understanding your donors and who's supporting the church. This is really important to understand the health of your financial giving, but also the health of the people that God has brought to your church. It makes a direct connection between money and your heart, and a gauge for discipleship at the church. It's also understanding of people, are they bought into the mission and supporting the mission and vision of the church?
That's something that you had talked about in a previous episode of Distilled, where we were talking about the importance of discipleship in the context of finances in the church. It sounds like this last number gave is a really good barometer for that. If giving is down and it's consistently down, are there reasons why? Is it an economic thing, or is it just that we haven't discipled them well enough? Do you think that could be a good barometer for it? Or is that something that's like, well, you just don't know. It kind of is what it is. Finances come and go.
There's statistics that say people stop giving before they leave the church. If you start to see that number going down, there's some issues there. And simply knowing the overall number is not going to give you detailed specific numbers on any particular person in the church, but it's a barometer to help understand that. And all of these in a way are kind of warning signs. If you see the number that gave to support your church starting to trend down, that's a warning sign. And you're going to likely see that. And then it's going to start to go to the income and trickle down through your spending, what you're able to keep and what you have, right? It tells you what's about to happen with that. But it also gives you that understanding of that spiritual health. Again, it's not the entire metric. It's a metric or a barometer to check in on those things.
That is such an interesting concept, that people typically stop giving before they leave. I had no clue. It makes sense, but what an interesting indicator. And just to see those numbers, like you said, trickle down effect of, okay, are they trending down? We should probably look at this, versus are they trending up? Hey, what's going well? What's really...
Yeah. Exactly. And if people are bought into the vision, they're going to want to support it and they're excited about what the church is doing. You'll see that, right? But if that's going down, you understand there's a disconnect between what you're hoping to accomplish, what you feel like God's calling you to do with your mission and vision, and what they're excited about with the church, right? It just helps reveal a lot of those potential issues.
It's really cool. Kind of a peek under the hood, if you will. All right, Dan, give it to me straight. What is one takeaway or action item every pastor needs from this episode?
Start tracking these numbers. We call them the core four, and we've actually created a tool that you can download and use to track each month. I would say get someone on your staff, probably who's in the finances, that would be responsible for completing this each month, and send it to the rest of the leadership team, the pastors and any key financial leaders, key ministry leaders. We also provide this report as part of our advanced reporting. So that would be an option. If you don't want to create it, you could look into our advanced reporting. But one way or another, make sure that every month you are getting these 4 key numbers and understanding them and watching them each month.
And you can find that download in our show notes.
That's right. Go to Church Finance Made Simple and check it out there.
Well, thanks so much, Dan. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Thanks, Gary.